in playoff spots. Dade, he lives for spring. It's coming soon, and he needs all the points he can get right now.
And M3 definitely done their homework. They know that Cool is 6-1 or 7-1 on that LeBlanc. So immediately hits the bench.
Dade also loves playing LeBlanc and doesn't get many wins on it. So
no, maybe it might be Looper just
dual
saying,
duty
no,
ban.
Dade, you're not playing that one. And we're not going to be doing any Juggernaut comps either here. Not any sort of standard Juggernaut comps relying on that wild growth. Lulu going to hit the bench. Has been very standard today, getting rid of the Lulu. Lysandra Rek'Sai, pretty standard stuff as well across the other side. And we'll see whether there's going to be anything else that's going to be targeted through here. But we've just seen that the bans have been a little bit more open to interpretation here by our teams.
The must bans are kind of dying out.
Slimming a little bit.
Vega, no longer on the ban list. Kassadin, as you mentioned. So that's two champions who've basically been 100% banned the last few weeks, completely falling off. The Rek'Sai ban targeted Condi. Maybe they're trying to see what his other champions are. I believe we've seen Lee Sin and Rek'Sai almost exclusively coming from Condi.
Bit of Jarvan.
Bit of Jarvan also. And Xerath is the third ban. A blue side Xerath ban. Xerath has been good.
Goodness.
And the Zed Respect ban comes out last. Suddenly, the mid lane champion pool has been decimated.
Yeah. All 4 of the champions. No, it's okay. Cho'Gath's still available here for either team. 100% win rate mid laner, but not going to be going into the LeBlanc. Not going to go into sort of that predictable assassin that he just wants to stack up his health against. But look at this. Kalista finds her way through, and Candy's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll have it.
And look, Candy's Kalista's been wonderful, and you cannot give Uzi Kalista. Yeah. He actually looks like old Uzi, the Uzi that people speak of in hushed tones when they're discussing how great he can be when he gets onto that Kalista. So double duty. Take it away from Uzi. Lock it in for Candy. He's looked wonderful in that champion. Saw those slight nerfs to the martial poise in terms of just how often you're hopping around a fight. But both of these players have played this champion and played it to its absolute maximum. So good to see that picked up as... Man, the pick comp, it starts very quickly here from OMG.
Oh, yeah, Loveling going to lock away the Jarvan here. Condi almost forced to go into Lee Sin, you have to think, but I love the pick away of Love City's Thresh here as well. Cloud, also a fantastic Thresh player, but you give them the Kalista Thresh lane, you can almost hang up your hat at that stage.
And that's what they've been running whenever they've had the opportunity. So yeah, they've noticed the fact that it's been 100% picked. Speaking of 100% win rate so far for Looper on the Hecarim. He was actually the one who pioneered starting at the Wolves and taking that camp at level 1, just using your flask charges for that very quick level 2. Still takes the Teleport Ignite, harkens over to EP's Amazing J. That's definitely become the standard summoner spells, and you called it, Atlas. I mean, the Lee Sin, there's not much left, especially on patch 5.4. Yeah. We don't have the new items coming to open up some tank junglers, so Lee Sin, almost the default pick.
Yeah, Condi just settling back onto that one. Of course, his Lee Sin has looked fine, so it's not too much of a worry here, but of course, probably would have liked that Rek'Sai. Seen a bit of success on that one as well. Uzi hovering over some hyper carry action here. Might even look to go with the Wife Steal bottom lane. It is going to be locked in and going. He's taking the tree to the top lane.
It's exciting to see Lucian come back into competitive play. We thought maybe it was only pigeonholed into, good duty against Corki, but not really picked otherwise. But against the Kalista, especially early, before a lot of attack speed is picked up, you can register that piercing light. You can get excellent trades. And still could, of course, potentially be a lane swap, but you do allow yourself to opt into a 2v2 very comfortably.
Yeah, his skirmish power has just always been incredibly strong. And Uzi, looking back at Worlds as well, played so well on that Lucian, was incredibly strong. Dade thinking about going back to his Victor here again, and it looks like we're going to have Candy and Love City on sort of that decimatingly high amount of CC bottom lane.
I mean, look at the Wombo combo potentially coming out with all the CC coming out of Leona, the Onslaught of Shadows coming out from Hecarim, and then potentially the Gravity, the Chaos Storm for the Wombo coming through. So there's a lot of Wombo damage. Of course, you can't pigeonhole Victor onto Wombo damage anymore. Does have a lot of consistent damage, but with all this pick power, you worry for Victor, because Victor's only really struggling when he has strong gap close against him, and we've already got 3 members, the first 3 members picked for OMG, all deal with Victor very well. And you know how else deals with Victor pretty well? Ahri in lane.
I was going to say just that, because OMG have this beautiful pick comp sorted out for themselves as well, and throw a charm in there at the same time. Things looking pretty good for OMG, but some sort of obviously different ideas moving into this game for both of our sides.
But still very much reminiscent of a 5.2 comp. Not really too many adaptations coming through for 5.4. OMG, the pick power. This is OMG, back to their 2013 identity. Their consistent identity has always been about getting those picks, rotating, getting those early turrets, 3 turrets down, and pushing for advantages, trying to squeeze people out of a game. They've picked a comp that's reminiscent of those heady days when they were by far the best team in China. M3, they're going to scale up to late game. They have excellent late game team fighting, but how often have we had this story of a late game team fighting comp against a proactive mid game comp and the game just ending in the mid game?
Well, it's exactly right. And if OMG gets some decent warding around this map as well, things will just be very, very scary because there'll be hooks flying out, there'll be love hearts flying out, and you won't be able to do anything about it. As sort of a standard tank battle here in this top lane, but Loop is going to be relied on to get really big really quite quickly.
And you have to think the lane swap is also going to be quite comfortable because Maokai, of course, 2v2 lanes or 1v2 lanes very, very comfortably. No flash, as is the standard on Hecarim. From level 6, actually very safe because, of course, so much distance traveled by the Onslaught of Shadows. Pre-6, though, is quite a poor 1v2 lane. It isn't safe because it doesn't have flash. You have to think OMG going to be looking for the lane swap. But in general, it's going to be an exciting one, Atlas.
I'm so excited already moving through. And as soon as Candy picks up Kalista, things definitely look brilliant for us viewers. But we'll see whether he's going to get ahead or whether it's going to be Uzi. But let's hop onto the Rift and find out. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with M3 taking on, not EDG, it's going to be OMG for our final game of the night. We'll see who's going to be able to take this first one because both of these team comps looking pretty good. But as you mentioned, Papa Smithy, OMG lineup definitely has that mid-game power.
Every single champion on OMG's side peaks in the mid-game, has power in the late game. Actually, the hook comes through from Cloud, doesn't quite register on Candy, so that's lucky. But OMG, you can see they are not stopping their plan. They want deep vision and they want the lane swap.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't actually think mid-game power. We meant level 1 power as OMG already starting to play very aggressively, eyeing off this lane swap immediately. And we'll see whether they can find out whether or not the backs are going to come through for our M3 bottom lane. And what they're quite looking for here as well, because we heard Spawn talking about the fact that sort of this lane swap situation has gotten a little bit better here moving into 5.4.
It's interesting to note that. I'm just watching to see that the back path. Now, you see Hecarim's very much, Loop is very much wanting to take the Wolf Cam. So they've already actually got a pink ward on the map. I didn't even notice that, Alice. A pink ward's been placed towards their blue side here, the M3 blue side.
Yeah.
So they really want to ensure the safe Hecarim start. Of course, you know, if he's able to teleport to lane, he can opt into a jungle follow. He can teleport straight to lane. Doesn't know what's going to happen, whether it's the fast push or the lane swap, but he has the flexibility to pick up this Wolf Camp relatively safely and transition into laning.
Yeah, and it's not only the fact that they get to protect this Hecarim, but, you know, Dade's sitting on Victor here as well, who's quite gankable, especially in the early stages of the game, when you have a Jarvan who's pretty much able to gank as successfully as he ever will at level 2. You
know, and Jarvan now with the 10 less armor, it's just that much more risky to sit in your jungle and farm. You clear a bit closer, you get lower in health, so, you know, you're kind of priced in to go for the very early skirmishing. And as you mentioned, from level 2, Charm into the Flag and Drag will spell death for Dade, so you have to be so, so careful, and the pink ward will help him out.
Yeah, this time, though, Candy about to hit that level 2, of course, managed to take the Krugs here with Love CD. We'll see whether it's going to work out as horribly here as it did for Starhorn Royal Club when they met up with the Candy Kalista in their last matchup. But it's Piercing Light's doing some work, and OMG able to shove out this wave very quickly, which is very important.
It's already looking better for OMG than it did for Starhorn Royal Club. There were a lot of level 2 kills, just underestimating the experience coming out from the Krugs, and dying was way in those exchanges. But much safer this time out, and it will actually be the 1v1 matchup. And they're going to be happy with that. Because, again, it frees up Lupa without the summoner spell, without the flash, to lane quite happily against the very tanky Maokai.
Yeah, just throwing rampages out as this horse likes, and it's almost like he has free reign in the paddock up here in this top lane. No worries at all, able to secure himself that cannon creep here as well. And did actually go back after picking up those wolves as well, so has a few more potions, a lot of sustain to come through. There's actually the Zenith Blade to land onto Uzi here, taking a lot of damage from that Sunlight proc, mixed in with the passive of the Sentinel from Candy. And M3, they're not afraid of this OMG bottom lane, but not looking nearly as dominant as they have been in the past.
And it's definitely a blast from the past to see Uzi bring out this Lucian that actually propelled Starhorn Royal Club to the 2014 World Championships.
Yeah.
He was definitely playing that champion when it was at its strongest, when it was reworked, and you could get so much purchase out of using multiple applications of the Relentless Pursuit. So back on that champion, definitely a champion that was very popular across the scene in the LPL last year. Used sparingly, like we mentioned, mostly just in that Corki matchup. If Graves isn't available, if there's a certain amount of turret pushing needed from the Lucian pick. But it's good to see him in. And the one thing you have to say, though, is if Lupa does opt into going to a Trinity Force build, which, to be honest, that's what we see as a standard for Hecarim. You know, opting into a build that's quite expensive, that will peak towards the end of the mid game. If we see the Righteous Glory come out from Going, you know, double down on the mid game, I don't really know how M3 will be able to fight against what could be an incredibly scary mid game comp from OMG.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and we'll just have to see whether they're going to be able to. Loveling looking for something potentially on this bottom side, wanting to get Uzi as far ahead as he can as Ren comes through and does a bit of damage here. You can see Candy and LoveCD able to get a bit of a level advantage. Death Sentence onto LoveCD here as well, as there's the Lantern. Uzi wanting to come very far forward. Zenith Blade, the Eclipse is going to proc a lot of damage to come down onto Cloud. Candy almost finishes him off with that Randon. This is a 2v3 that M3 almost managed to turn around. Yeah,
Candy was so level-headed, wanted to keep fighting because he knew if there was a double defensive flash, it would just encourage 3 members to collapse onto LoveCD. So confident players justified, as OMG's the one that have to retreat with their tail between their legs in a 3v2 situation.
Yeah, but still, Uzi managing to use the early game power of this Lucian to his advantage. Does have that 8 CS in the lead, but fairly large minion wave here available for M3 when it does make it towards them, but OMG with a lot of control now.
Yeah, it's just worth again noting how much value they've gotten out of this pink ward. You already mentioned that it's a very risky laning phase for a Victor against Ahri at the best of days, but then when you have the ganking pressure of leveling on the Jarvan, the pink ward, and then they've been able to consistently have a green ward up, so both entrances to the mid lane have been warded. It's allowed Dade to play so aggressively. You know, it might even trick OMG into thinking that Dade has been playing recklessly aggressive, when in fact it's been very controlled and very helpful, as there's another engage potentially at bot.
Yeah, bottom lane. A little bit of excitement as Condi pays a visit, but not going to find too much. Uzi back at full health here as well. 10 CS is the gap now between Uzi and Candy. But that's not too much here, just considering the fact that Candy is going to naturally scale.
It's not too much, but I mean, the big CS story is the fact that Dade has been able to keep up CS against an Ahri Jarvan because of the warding. So again, smart level 1 has opened up Dade to be very comfortably CSing, and the moment that he picks up Aftershock, we'll have the fairly instant wave clear. So he's navigated the hard part of the laning phase for Victor, the first 5-6 levels.
Yeah, maybe this is going to be the new Dade champion, the Victor. We did discuss it, we did speak about the fact that he generally tunnels pretty hard onto certain picks, but his Victor was impressive before, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were going to see a little bit more of it as the LPL proceeds.
So because we have the 2v2 standard lanes, definitely no potential for OMG to use their mid-game comp just yet and force the early dragon. They haven't had the outnumbered situation. In a lane top, obviously, if they had kept their bot lane in the bottom lane, would have had the numbers advantage to start an early dragon, but no dragons in the first 7 minutes. The trading continues in bottom lane, and again, it's very even across the map.
Yeah, Condi is going to find Loveling. Look at that Death Ray doing a lot of work here now that Dade has reached that first augmentation of that one.
Aftershock, it is the Death Ray, just to give him fairly instant wave clear. You clear out the backline in 1E, so you're very happy, and just try and keep, just balance what Cool's doing with the Aura Deception and clear waves happily.
Yeah, it's no problem at all. Of course, you do generally want to get to that second augmentation as quickly as possible. Make sure you have the movement speed from that Q, the Siphon Power. But we have been seeing a fair bit of the perfect Hex Core as well coming through, just to make sure that your Chaos Storm moves as fast as possible.
I personally really like getting the Merlinomicon after this first augment, as we see a tank battle in the top lane that Loop is slightly losing out on. If you get the Merlinomicon, you have the flexibility of applying the Grievous Wounds passive, which is useful against Ahri and, of course, the AD carry when he comes into lane. But the extra CDR, just having reliable, regular wave clear, getting that Death Ray onto a fairly short cooldown, just gives you so much flexibility.
Yeah, it most certainly does. Blue buffs have been picked up now for both of our mid laners. This is something that you can struggle with a little bit as a Victor is his mana cost. You just want to be throwing out your abilities as often as possible just because they don't have that high of a cooldown.
Now watch this minimap. We are seeing the red buff steal come through from Loving. The first time that OMG have flexed their mid-game muscles is only to steal away a red, so it's definitely the minimum advantage gotten from the comp they've picked up. But you have to think the roam to mid. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, Cloud going to be unseen here as well. The hook lands on Dade. In comes Cool, misses the charm, but it doesn't matter. An easy first blood pickup for OMG.
I have to think it was just a lack of focus. Basically, Cloud was able to walk into near melee range to hit the hook. No flash comes through from Dade. Had both summoner spells available and just dies.
Yeah, it was sort of not really much of a reaction here at all. Thought that he'd be able to juke out of the way of that death sentence, but didn't. And OMG going to be able to capitalize by picking up this dragon as well. One thing that we have to mention is the fact that Lupa is able to free farm here in this top lane, but OMG having the beginning of this game that they were looking for.
The Sentinel actually was so clutch. It just walked into the dragon as it died. So they'll have an exact timer. So that's at least a small thing for M3 to take away from the exchange. But as you mentioned, the mid-game comp, it gets first blood, it gets first dragon, steal away red. Condi's trying to answer the red, but still, the first dragon, that's the minimum that OMG were looking for in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Condi might have to be a little bit careful, but Going not going to head down towards that red buff and Loveling. Probably going to assume that his has been taken. Going continues to push, but both teleports are now on cooldown here for OMG and M3, and that's just probably why OMG knew that they were just so easily able to take that dragon, just because they had the timer on Lupa's teleport.
Absolutely no way the Onslaught of Shadows could come in through a reaction at all. And going, he's building for the mid game. It's not just going to rush into the Rod of Ages. Of course, that has definitely fallen away as people try and pigeonhole the Catalyst towards the Righteous Glory more often, but also has the Glacial Shroud just for that extra boost of power. A bit more wave clear coming through. You're going to have your spell rotations that much less, that much more often. As Cool takes a burst of damage, and Dade going to lose his pink.
Yeah, unfortunate. Dade's lost a lot of wards this game. Cool does take a bit for it, though, and you can see Dade's still pretty healthy. That Death Ray has a gigantic range if you walk away from it and direct it away from yourself. But cast range not as high, but not going to find Cool this time. We'll just see how this laning phase does pan out as we're still there for the moment. Lots of members going to come through Death Sentence. There's the box as well as Loveling comes around, but Candy just says, I'll have that. Don't worry.
Yep,
Fate's
of course.
Soul.
So safe as the support for Candy on this Kalista to be able to face check Blushes with basically reckless abandon because, you know, you got someone to save you at any point.
Yeah, just say, oh, no. That's not where we want your love, CD.
I've got to say, this has been a very quiet start to the game. I wasn't expecting that from this series, but Loveling's going to face check a pink ward and going aggressively on Condi.
Yeah, level 6 to level 7 of Condi here as well, but Cloud, he's been just hanging out with his buddies around the map, not really sticking with Uzi too much this game, and it has managed to pick them up the first kill and a dragon now as well. This roaming style really quite working out as far as this mid-game comp is concerned, and Uzi not losing out at all, still ahead in farm.
So both AD carries have gone back to pick up a BF, so it's Dade again.
Yeah, there's the flash hook to come through here as well. Oh, flashes into the charm, the cataclysm for the slam dunk for Loveling. And it just looks too easy.
Now, we mentioned the fact that Victor struggles with gap close coming through. Whether it's Ari, whether it's Loveling, twice they've managed to get successful gang, so they're going to get a lot of damage. Potentially the first outer turret is the mid one, as in the top, Going's in trouble.
Yeah, there's the Onslaught of Shadows to come through. Does kick him back here as well as the Resonating Strike comes through. Going does delay his death just a little bit, but Lupa does manage to secure it. OMG, on the other hand, they pick up the outer turret in the mid lane, their personal favorite tower on the map.
Very curious flash coming through from Going. I think he hoped maybe that creep aggro would have caused Lupa to fall just that little bit lower, and that he had cooldowns coming up to potentially get the exit kill. In the end, just blows his flash with some trading in the bot lane. Yeah,
Love City actually getting aggressed on here as well. Is forced to Zenith Blade in here as the Ignite's down onto Uzi. There's the Fate's Call to come through, so not going to find too much. Actually knocking up Cloud here. Love City might be in a little bit of trouble, but M3, they do back away. Very close exchange, though, and Uzi is quite low.
I'm surprised to see the BF so pickup come through from Candy, just because, again, if you work towards the Hurricane, 2,500 gold buys you a lot of lane control in terms of the fact that you can actually push it out. If you're against a mid-game comp, you want to push in just so that you have the potential to control where the minion waves are. Because again, we've already seen Loveling invading aggressively. We already see the mid lane turret going down. You do not want to give OMG the flexibility to go for the 5-man dives, to pick up the 3 outer turrets, and to start contesting every red buff, not just the second one that we saw a few minutes ago.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And OMG is the type of team where you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's just how they play the game. And at the moment, haven't been able to take it quite yet, but you have to think that as soon as they get an opportunity, M3 are going to have to be very, very careful.
I mean, at the end of the day, M3 want the laning phase to go for as long as possible. They want their champions to power up. They want to lose the minimum. Maybe the second dragon is just fine. They want to just make sure that they're able to contest the third dragon with a Trinity Force, with other big item pickups on their other carries. They're happy for a long laning phase, but you can see OMG, they don't want that at all.
Yeah, there's the Solar Flare onto Cool here as well, but Love City, you are most definitely dead. No Fate's Call available. Cloud almost falls down there as well, but Going's here. There are 5 members of OMG here on the bottom side. Orbit Deception easily secures that one. Dade comes around. Doesn't have the ult quite available just yet. Doesn't even use it, actually, as the Sonic Wave's going to be found. But Condi's going to die. Looper jumps in and kills Cloud. But that is an ace at 14.5 minutes.
I'm going to make a huge statement, Atlas. The mid-game started. You can see the rotations coming through. Mid-game power everywhere. M3, they just don't have the item timings to be able to fight. Still, we see the teleport coming. Still, we see the aggressive rotations. They don't back away and lose one member, maybe even their bottom lane. They just lose everyone. An ace at 14 minutes. Give a mid-game team an advantage, they'll keep pushing it. OMG, they already are taking full control over the M3 red side jungle.
Yeah, well, it's so true. And Dade unable to even use that Chaos Storm in that fight. Of course, we've spoken about Victor just being so squishy. And there was nothing you could do, just got CC'd and killed.
Absolutely. Assassins are the bane of Victor's existence. You can pick up the cleanse. That's what we actually often see from Victor's, is the cleanse, just to have the ability to cleanse one of the CCs. For example, against Lissandra, we often see cleanse coming through on Victor. Against Ahri, there's so much consistent damage that maybe he thought, I'll take the Ignite to threaten a bit of kill potential if ever the turret dive does come through, but definitely not the Ignite vindicated. 0-3-1, keeping up in CS, but in terms of the trades, Cool with the Abyssal Scepter completed on top of the Morellonomicon. That's so much mid-game power. It's just obscene.
Yeah, it is. And that's against a Blasting Wand and, one upgrade on the Hex score. That is no items here available for Dade. Hasn't been able to pick anything up.
1,700 gold between the mid laners, even though it's only a 20 CS advantage.
That is completely ridiculous. And that's what happens when you pick up an extra 3 kills and 3 assists.
I mean, look, it's not 5.2, it's 5.4, but Ahri's still pretty good, and Cool is the best Ahri player in the world. Able to play it confidently in a great situation just to extend the advantage of a mid-game comp. And in general, M3, they've picked themselves into a corner, and OMG, they have no interest in extending this game longer than they need to.
No, well, that's true. And as long as they keep extending the game, it gives M3 more and more of a chance. Loveling's going to get stunned up. There's a Zenith Blade here as well. Isn't able to take the Dark Passage. There's actually Fate's Call used just because he wanted to switch focus onto Cloud here. Cool is round the backside. Condi's going to fall down here at the same time as M3 have started a fight that they may not have won. There's the Gravity Field. Loveling's going to die. Uzi gets just caught up by the ult there as Dade falls down. A double kill instantly. Orbit Deception and Charm are going to land here as well, but Candy, he's still alive, and the Dragon is very angry at OMG for killing it before, but 3 for 2 at this stage, and that was a fight that M3 wanted.
Atlas, that was a fight that M3 opted in because they knew it was a 5v4. Maokai's teleport is down, and in a 4v5, they lose 3 kills to 2. That tells you how strong OMG's comp is. Ahri, she still has those very low cooldowns. You can get so many spell rotations off in a fight. She's doing the work of 2 or 3 of the M3 members. And in general, it was a good time to fight, but you can already see they haven't picked a team comp to fight. They wanted long laning phases. And look, the laning phase, it's over, and it's 5,000 gold lead to to OMG.
Yeah, already 17.5 minutes with a 5,000 gold lead. That is absolutely massive. Nearly Large Rod was picked up here from Dade now. And we do have the Glacial Shroud and that Spectre's Cow now available for Looper. So not deciding to go all in for that Trinity Force. Knows that as his team falls further and further behind, they're going to need a tank that can actually do some tanking in these fights.
OMG, they're going to pick up the second dragon. There should not be a contest barring the Miracle Steal coming through from Condi. He actually does hit the Q on the dragon. He might go in, but we can see, yep, they stopped the DPS. Very smart from OMG. I worry about this Dade build he's looking for. He's looking for basically the burst build, the maximum Chaos Storm damage build. You know, the one rotation of spells is all he's going to get out with no cooldown reduction whatsoever, barring maybe the blue buff coming through. He's happy to fight under turret, doing just fine on the top. As the bot lane goes down, we're seeing a fight in bot lane.
Yeah, Uzi actually managed to pick that one up. Candy dancing around here as well. It's a nice solar flare. Candy so incredibly low. Love City now in trouble as Uzi's on him. And Loveling, of course, he's here on the bottom side as Uzi picks up the kill onto Love City at the same time. And OMG, they're just running over this bottom half of the map.
Yeah, 12 and 4. It's not just the bottom side of the map, Abbas. They're running this game completely. They're going to get inner turret damage done. There's no one to react to this. Victor's actually just picking up his blue buff. With blue buff, it's just going to be one burst rotation, but getting into range to hit this short-ranged Victor, one of the reasons why he's seen popularity is that there's been people building up the distortion boots, taking Ghost Flash, or even taking the Fura boots for a burst in movement, picking up the second augment to have the mobility coming through from the Q. With no mobility, Victor has melee range or just over melee range spells, and he will die to any pick coming through from just the massive amount of pick power that OMG have. I don't see Victor impacting this game anytime soon.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like it's happening. It certainly hasn't happened yet, and it's been Cloud able to just move around the map and just catch him. Death sentence after death sentence. This Thresh has looked beautiful thus far. But I mean, you got to talk about Uzi here as well, looking so comfortable on this Lucian. Cloud coming around, looking to put some pressure onto Looper. And yeah, Cool's here as well. So Looper is going to be forced to leave this one. And M3, they know that they have to group up. Loveling actually might find Dade here, forced to use that flash to get out. Gravity Field not going to find the stun. So M3 not able to get the pick that they were looking for, and they're going to lose the outer turret in the top lane here as well. Things just falling apart for M3 at this stage of the game.
There's only one inner turret left on the map, Atlas. That's the top inner turret for M3. All the other turrets on the map, all the other outer turrets taken out already. OMG, they have so much pressure. We do see one ward, one aggressive ward, actually even a few aggressive wards coming through from M3 on OMG side of the jungle, but they can't get to their own jungle, let alone OMG's jungle. That's wasted vision at this point. They cannot realistically skirmish barring getting a miracle pick, and it's only really Love City that has a lot of pick power.
Yeah, and Uzi actually just going to steal away this red buff easy as you like. Candy was there. Loveling actually going to come through stunned up here. The Cataclysm onto Dade is going. Teleports in from the backside. Candy does have his ultimate available. Love City going forward, trying to stun up the AD carry in the backside as Looper comes through, but he's so low. Uzi just finishes him up. Candy can't find the rend onto Uzi here. Condi doesn't even land it. He kicks Uzi in the head eventually. But M3, they've lost everyone barring Love City for 2 members.
And that was with Loveling going in, engaging, knowing that he had Go-Going as backup, knowing that Go-Going was going to be the first to react to that engage. A lot of trust in his top laner, but it worked out 4 for 2 as the exchange. Uzi almost lived. The one order looked like it was never going to come out. Finally died, but all the advantages to OMG.
Yeah, in the end, it was Condi having to kick him in the head in order to secure that kill. Don't even know how he managed to close the distance, but I mean, it's horses for courses at this stage. There was a fight easily won now for OMG.
And there's just nothing Dade can do. He has the death cap. I mean, it was either going to be a very delayed standard build, maybe a very delayed Merilonomicon into maybe the Sorceress Shoes at this point, or he just could put it all in on hitting the perfect Chaos Storm. I can respect going for that, but just against the pick power, I don't feel like it's going to get much purchase. There's just not a lot of ways for him, barring a flash suicide engage and the perfect Chaos Storm to engage. But again, the Abyssal Scepter's completed. There's magic resist across the board. They might have got a pick on
Yeah,
Cool.
there's the decent use of the Gravity Field in response to the fear, but Cool able to use that Zhonya's to survive through it, and Dade trying to throw out some Death Rays. Does he manage to land that one? Dodges out of the way of that ability as the Solar Flare comes through onto Cloud. Orbit Deception not going to do any damage to him because, of course, he is Cool's teammate, so that's absolutely fine. Looper, though, no flash, trapped in the Cataclysm. Does survive for quite some time. Another Gravity Field to come through here as well, as this fight is extended very, very far. Candy makes his way in, and somehow no one's dead.
3v4, then 3v5. No one dies from OMG. Lucian was just happily farming, I believe, the Krugs in top lane. Wanted to pick up the last Whisper. We have to appreciate this is a 3-item Lucian with boots too at 22 minutes.
Just ridiculous. Condi picks up a Consolation Raptor there. You have to think that things definitely looking bad for M3. They need to wait until this game hits about 70 minutes, I think.
Let's just re-examine that phrase, the Consolation Raptor.
What's wrong with the
lets
Consolation Raptor?
I think M3 would have a few arguments about it, given that the most they can exert is stealing away one of the 4 little Raptors.
Hey, it was a very nice Sonic Wave by Condi. You have to give him credit for it.
OMG, you let them get their mid-game champions, even their confident champions. Going's already communicated that his favorite champion to play is Maokai because he feels like he can boss around, be in the front line on this tank, put out the consistent CC, negate any of the AoE damage. Cool and Ari, they go hand in hand. They're so confident. He's so confident on that champion. Uzi back to the Lucian, of course. 2015 hasn't picked up the Lucian, returns to it, still has those mechanics down pat. Confidence across the board for OMG. Scaling for M3, and especially they had a lot of high hopes in the Kalista. Candy's done fine, but I mean, Dade especially just completely got obliterated in the mid lane. They've never had any mid lane presence, with their mid lane turret being the first to fall. And that just opens up Cool on Ari to roam around, impact all the other lanes, and suddenly M3, they're staring at a defeat, almost a landslide defeat at 24 minutes.
Yeah, well, being down 10,000 gold at 24 minutes into the game, haven't taken a dragon yet either of M3. It's going to take a miracle for anything to happen. And Dade, I mean, not looking as comfortable now on the 5.4. No Azir available. No way to really work out exactly what he wants to pick when there's sort of no other choices. No comfort Dade champions. Condi's actually going to safeguard his way into the backside of this dragon pit. OMG giving a lot of respect now to M3. There's the solar play. Doesn't really find anyone as the culling comes through the backside. Fate's Call coming down as well as Looper jumps in just to die, basically. Condi's going to fall down at the same time. Love City. He's a tanky Leona, but I don't think tanky really comes into it because he was torn apart by Uzi, and that just looked too easy for OMG.
And Dade and Candy fighting in the back of the fight, just waiting for their tanks to start to soak some damage. They just don't have the items to do so. The 3 frontline tanks die instantly. Doesn't matter how strong your carries are. As Uzi's going to come in, they want to get some more exit kills.
Yeah, Descent's not going to find its mark as Cloud wasn't quite able to get Uzi in time, but it doesn't really matter at this stage. OMG just going to push out some more waves and solidify this advantage even further. 3 dragons to nothing, some extra movement speed just for fun. 5 turrets to 1, 7 kills to 19, and M3 going to have to go back to the drawing board and maybe try something else against OMG next time.
I like to just actually point out that Loveling, he does this a lot on the Jarvan. He's the only Jarvan that I've seen do this. As we see, Cool really wants to get another assassination kill on Dade. May have to back out. But he picks up the Juggernaut enchant on Jarvan. People kind of tunnel on the fact that he gets natural armor penetration, build another armor penetration item, and have actually some damage potential on the Jarvan. But if you put your trust into the consistent damage coming out from Cool and Uzi on Arya and Lucian, and why wouldn't you, Atlas?
Yeah, well, that's the
Then
thing.
you don't need to build damage on Jarvan. You saw in that previous fight, OMG, their tanky frontline, Jarvan and Maokai especially, soaked up so much damage and were basically tickled by the damage coming out from M3 because they just have so many tank items. The Warrior enchant's doing nothing at all for Condi on the Lee Sin. As we see Uzi and Lupa, I think Lupa's maybe gonna die.
Oh my goodness, that death sentence was unbelievable from Cloud. The get back here death sentence to come through. And I mean, I think that Lupa was probably dead anyway. Condi's going to find Cool, or is Cool going to find Condi as Dade trying to get some damage down. Cool incidentally kills Condi there from the backside. Nice death ray to come down here. Chaos Storm. Cool has to be careful. Flashes over the wall. The flash from Dade. The follow-up is wanted, but the cavalry arrives. In comes the culling as Dade just gets shot to death. Cloud picks up the kill. And somehow, all of a sudden, 3 are dead for M3.
And it's going to continue out this.
Oh, the flash into the death sentence. This is a highlight reel for Cloud this game.
It's a highlight reel for OMG in general. You let them pick mid-game power, you take late game, and you take a loss, Atlas. There's nothing that they can do. The surrender comes through, and OMG, they make it look easy.
Yeah, almost too easy here, but you have to think, I mean, M3, they have a chance to make something else of it, but that was just beautifully executed by OMG. They knew exactly when they were strong.
And whatever concern was on Cool's face pre-match definitely didn't translate when he noticed 5th pick, good matchup against Victor. Ari was available, and Cool's Ari, 6-0-13, 19 out of 23 kill participation. He was majestic, and Uzi, a return to form on that fabled Lucian pick.
And against Candy's Kalista here as well, where you have to say has looked almost the strongest that he's ever been. It was a beautiful performance from the bottom lane of OMG. And does this mean that they've solidified? Does this mean that they might be back?
I mean, we're only talking about one game. We need to see the series develop, and even some more series. Is that OMG haven't even committed to using Uzi in the next game. But as a once-off, excellent performance from OMG, all their members.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, a best of two. Our final match of the night between OMG and M3 is coming up right after this.